الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
I openly bear witness that nothing deserves to be worshipped except Allah, without partner, without associate. And I openly bear witness that Muhammad, peace and blessings of God forever be upon him, to whom the Quran was revealed, is Allah's messenger and slave servant. Amma ba'd, as what follows. O you who truly believe, observe your duty to Allah with the devotion that is truly due to Allah and Allah alone. And do not die except as being amongst those who have surrendered as Muslims. And be careful to observe your duty to Allah, whom you invoke when making claims on one another. And reverence the wombs that bore you, for Allah is always watchful over all you do. O you who truly believe, you must practice true devotion to Allah and use speech that gets straight to the point. And He will improve your works for you, and He will forgive you your sins. Whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, he has truly won a mighty triumph. As what follows. فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير حي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Indeed, the best of speech is the speech of Allah. And the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the worst of affairs are newly invented matters, and every newly invented matter is an innovation, and every innovation is a misguidance, and every misguidance leads to the hellfire. Verily Allah and His Messenger speak the truth. قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واللام الأنام أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة وأنا لا خائله أجر عظيم صدق الله العظيم. And know with certainty that your possessions and your children are a test, and that is with Allah, there lies the immense reward. Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be here on this Jummah, this day of gathering, that Allah has summoned those who testified to His oneness and to the messengership of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come. When the call of prayer is announced, come. Leave off your worldly affairs and come to the prayer. Hasten. Come quickly. And when the prayer is complete, go back to your worldly affairs. But remember Allah much throughout the day. This is a holy day. Every Jummah is a holiday or a holy day for the Muslims. We have to take it as such, and we have to treat it as such. We have to treat the day with the reverence that the day was given by Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah tells us, and know that your possessions and your children are a test. وَاللَّهُ أَنَا مَا أَوَالَكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ. Now, this word fitnatum has many meanings in Arabic. The root, of course, comes from the word fitna. Now, usually when we hear the word fitna, we think of something negative. But Allah is clearly telling us in the Quran, know with certainty, there's no doubt, that your possessions and your children are a fitna. Now, this word fitna could also be used as confusion or chaos. It's used multi-purposes, but it's clearly used here to describe your possessions and your children. In Islam, there is nothing and no one and no place that should take precedent in our lives over Allah, His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and striving in the way of Islam, fi sabilillah. Nothing. Nothing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using in this ayah that which is closest and nearest and dear to us, those things that we possess, our wealth, our property, our businesses, our homes, our tribes, and to even stress it even further, that which is most precious to most of the human community, which is our children. People take great pride in their children. Great pride. But Allah is warning us. He's saying, not possibly, not could be, not maybe. He's saying no, with certainty, that they are a trial, they're a test. The things that we possess of this world are a test. Our children are a test. Nothing in this life should be put above and ahead of our worship and commitment to Islam. Nothing. No thing. No thing should be more important to us than Allah, His Messenger, and striving in the way of Islam. Nothing. Now, there are those who misinterpret this. They say, well, then I should leave off or neglect the world. I should remove myself from the world and neglect my wife and my children and just spend my entire life in the service of Islam. This only becomes possible in your psyche, in your thinking, if you think of Islam in the terminology of a religion, which it is not. If you think of it in the terminology as a religion, then you could become a religious fanatic, which means that you put everything aside. You don't want to work. You don't want to do nothing. You don't want no wife. You don't want no kids. You just want to be just totally engulfed in the religion. But Islam, Deen of Islam, is not properly translated as the religion of Islam. Deen of Islam is the way of life. And the Prophet ﷺ has told us clearly that half of our deen is marriage. So if half of our deen is marriage, is contained within the institution of marriage, which in its culmination culminates in family, then how can we separate the family from the deen? So what we're being told is, don't put into a compartment. The family over here, my work over here, my school over here, my possessions over here, and my Islam over here. No. Everything in our lives, our children, our wives, our mothers, our fathers, our families, our businesses, everything must fit into our Islam. We must fit our lives into Islam, not the other way around. Because the Western thought of secularization of Islam or of religion is that you fit religion into everything else. It's like, okay, you have politics, you have business, you have economics, you have your children, you have your wife, you have your family, and then you take Islam and you fit it in somewhere. You find a place to fit it in the corner, and you leave it there. That's secularization. That's not Deen. Deen of Islam is that everything in existence within the context of our life experience, we fit it into our Islam. It has to find a place within our Islam. We have to Islamize our children. Once we teach our children to love Allah, love the Prophet ﷺ, and love the Deen of Islam more than they love anything else, then they fall right in line. There's no separation. There's no conflict. This concept of the separation of church and state is a European concept. It's not Islamic. There's no separation, division within the Islamic true mindset of the Deen of Islam. There's no divisions. Everything in our lives becomes Islamicized. Everything. But not in an extreme. This is where the line must be drawn. Because there must be a balance. There must be a balance between secularism and religious extremism. Both of them are wrong. Both of them are astray. One is equally as dangerous as the other. There's a balance. There's a balance. Duly proportioned. Yes, Islam is the most important aspect of our lives, and everything in our lives, our wives, our children, our possessions, everything that we have becomes a part of our Islamic identity, but not to an extreme. Not to where we want to compel it. There is no compulsion within the Deen of Islam. Everyone travels at their own pace. Everyone develops at their own rate. There's no forcing, nor is there eliminating. You cannot eliminate Islam from the social order. This is wrong. Nor can you force it upon society. This is wrong. You have to change the hearts of the people so that they willingly accept it. This is hikmah. This is wisdom. But this happens over an evolutionary process. It might take generations. But there's an old saying. If the man that planted the seed only planted the seed to eat from the fruit of the tree, no one would ever plant a seed. Because very few people live to eat from the fruit. But the seed planter is wise. He knows or she knows that you plant the seed and someday that tree is going to grow and produce fruit. So if we begin to plant the seeds in the hearts and the minds of our children to love Allah, to love the Prophet ﷺ, to love Islam, We might not live to see that fruit, but know that with certainty that that fruit will bear someday. And others will eat from the fruit, and those seeds will be planted again and reproduce again. So we must be like the seed planter. Everywhere we go, plant the seed. Plant a seed. Not in extreme. Moderation. Gradual. Evolving. The evolution. Especially when you're dealing with a time and you're dealing with a situation in the world body where there are so many elements that have demonized Islam and demonized Muslims. Made us the enemy. So now we must use wisdom. This is why Allah says to use wisdom, use hikmah when you deal with them. We must speak to them with wisdom. No. The Quran clearly tells us, Lakum deenukum waliya deen. To you be your way, to us be our way. We are willing to coexist with you. And you are willing to coexist with us. We are willing to cooperate with you. And you are willing to cooperate with us for the betterment of the social whole. And not only of our individual societies and families, but for the betterment of humanity. Because Allah tells us clearly in the Quran that Islam, the way of life, will be victorious. Truth will eventually win out. There's no doubt in that. Truth will eventually win out over falsehood. The question is, on which side are we? Are we on the side of truth? If we are, then we will be representative of that truth in all of our words and deeds. Not by force, not by bombs, no, by your amal. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. By your good deeds. You will be known by your good deeds. And people will come, people who were once your enemies, who once looked at you with suspicion, said, "Oh, we don't know about him or her. We don't know. We're not sure." If you purify your heart, tazkiyah nafs, by the continuance of the remembrance of Allah, if you continue to remember Allah with your mind, your heart, and it reflects in your actions, and people begin to recognize your actions as being something that is righteous and good, even though they didn't trust you in the beginning, they will come to trust you and eventually come to love you. Not by what you say, but by what they see in your actions. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that you were on the brink of the hellfire and I saved you from the hellfire. And you were warring tribes, you were fighting each other. And I changed your hearts and made you brothers and sisters. Allah has power over all things. So, as we look at our possessions and we look at our children, don't look at them as separate. Look at them as part of our Islamic identity. We must begin the process of developing an Islamic personality. First with ourselves, then with our family, then with our society. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you look 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, where we were, And where we are now and where we're headed, we fought against great odds. We fought against great odds within ourselves to bring ourselves to the level of Islamic consciousness that we have now. We fought against great odds to bring our family and our wives and our children to a level of Islamic consciousness to where they are now. The battle goes on. But continue to plant the seeds. And the seeds will bear fruit. And that fruit will nourish and bear its own seeds that will reproduce itself and continue to nourish and grow. Make everything in your life a part of your Islamic identity. Islamize yourself, Islamize your children, Islamize your family. Allah tells us first, save yourself and your family. Before you talk about the society, the outer society, you must first start with yourself. With yourself. The first step, start making your salah. Start making the salah on time. In Jummah. The enemies of Islam, they know the signs of the rise and decline of Islam. They know the signs. They know when Islam is in decline. Why? Because when they go and they send the people to look, and they look at the masajid, and they see everybody in the mosque has a gray beard. Everybody. Nothing but gray beards. They know there's a decline. They know that soon the mosque will be empty because those gray beards are soon going to be in the ground. It's when they come and they see the young, when they see the youth, that's what they fear. They fear the young. When they see the young saying, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. When they see the young turning away from the clubs and the music and the drugs. When they see the young preferring to get married over having sex out of marriage. When they see the young people talking about Islam is a way of life. When they see the young girls willingly wearing the hijab. Not because their father is forcing them, but because they fear Allah. Then they know that Islam is on the rise. May Allah bless us and protect us and make us a part of the rise of Islam in a balanced way. Change yourself, piece by piece, every day. Every day, Islamize yourself a little more. Every day. Pick up another sunnah, practice another act. You know, do good deeds, give charity, help people. These are all things that increase the Islamization of yourself, and then spread it on to your wife and your children. And then make your wife and your children a part of a community. And then as a community, you do it together, and then as that community, you take it forth to the society. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. In a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, there are three people who experience the ecstasy of the sweetness of faith. Number one, someone to whom Allah and His Messenger are dearer than everything apart from themselves. And we know the hadith where Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I love you. The Prophet ﷺ said, how much? He said, I love you more than anything. He said, do you love me more than yourself? He said, no. Honestly, because he's honest. He couldn't lie. He said, then your love is incomplete. And he told him to go away. And he came back, and he came back again, and finally he was asked, do you love me more than yourself? And he said, yes. And he said, you shall be with the one you love. So we should love Allah and His Messenger more than we love anything. This is the goal. This is the aim. More than we love anything of this dunya. Even more than we love ourselves. 2, someone, when he loves a person, loves them only for the sake and pleasure of Allah. Meaning that when you love someone, you don't want anything in return. Anything, you don't want nothing. And this is an easy thing to say. It's easy. Oh, I love you for the pleasure of Allah. But within the recesses of the deep hidden motives of our minds, most of the time we expect something in return. Most of the time. My father, may Allah give him Jannah, used to tell me, I used to ask him, like, you treat people so nice. And sometimes the people that you treat nice don't treat you nice in return. But you still continue to treat them nice. Why do you do it? He told me, he said, if you treat people expecting something in return, if you treat them nice expecting something in return, for so long as they give you that which you expect, you will continue to treat them nice and love them. The moment that they stop giving you what you respect and what you expect in return for your love and affection, you will stop loving them. Think about it. It's a room full of men. Think about it. Suppose the one that you love stop giving you what you expect. Would you still love her? I don't know. You answer the question. But it would definitely be something that you would think about. If she one day said, okay, you love me, but I'm not giving you nothing, would you still love her? Well, if you loved her for the pleasure of Allah and not for your pleasure, you would still love her. But if you loved her for your pleasure, when she stopped giving you pleasure, you wouldn't love her. Number 3, someone who would prefer to be cast into the fire of hell rather to revert back into unbelief after Allah has delivered him or her from it. Now this applies, I think, more so to those of us who have, as some people say, revert or converted to Islam. But it also, I'm going to explain how it also applies to those who have been born Muslim. But for those of us who have converted to Islam or reverted to Islam, we know what hell is. Because we were in it. Allah took us out of hell. Hell on earth. And gave us Islam. So when I read this passage that one of the people who will experience the ecstasy is like the unbelievable pleasure of faith, is someone who would prefer to be thrown into hell, into the Jahannam, than to go back into disbelief. I know what that is, because I was in disbelief. So if someone says, okay, the scenario, here's the hellfire, here's what Allah brought you out of. Choose. Would you rather go back into that, or would you rather be thrown into hell? May Allah make our answer, we'd rather be thrown into hell. That's for us, those of us that came out of that hell. Why do I say that? Because if we go back into that hell, we might not ever come back out. We might die in that hell. But if we choose to be cast into the hellfire, Allah might say, because of your faith, you don't have to be cast into hellfire. What's the example of that? Allah told Abraham to sacrifice his son. And when he went to sacrifice his son Ishmael, Allah said, okay, you've proven your faith. So therefore, exchange it with a lamb. Those of us that have come out of this world, there's nothing worse than going back. From the depths of my heart, if you never hear my voice again, there's nothing worse than going back into that dunya. Nothing worse. Nothing. And for those who were born Muslim, would you prefer to be cast into the fire of hell or rather revert to unbelief? Now, I know most of you that were born Muslim think that you were always Muslim. But that's not true. If you came from the Indian subcontinent, you'll go back far enough, you're going to find Hindus. If you came from Africa, if you go back far enough, you're going to find ancestor worship and worship of nature. If you came from different parts of the world, you're going to go back and find savage, barbaric tribes that were just running around killing each other. Well, you'll find that today too. So, would you rather be a Hindu? Or would you rather be cast into the hellfire? Because you weren't always Muslim. You look at us and you think we just became Muslim. Well, I've been Muslim 45 years, which is about the average age, I guess, of most people. I'm longer than most people have been living in this room. But 45 years is a good amount of time. 45 years I've been Muslim. By Allah's grace and mercy. Some of you have been Muslim as long as your generations can think. And in closing, I always like the question. People come to me, they say, well, where you from? I'm an American. They say, where your father from? He's American. Where your father's from? He's American. Where your father's father? No. Where you really, you can't be an American. You had to come from someplace else. Well, I'm going to tell you the same thing. You can't be Muslim all the way back. You had to come from someplace else. You was a Christian. You was a Hindu. You was a fire worshiper. You was a worshiper of your ancestors. You was worshiping the sun, the moon, the stars. You weren't always Muslim. Go back and trace your spiritual DNA. Trust me, you weren't always Muslim. So next time you ask me that question, that's what you're going to get. May Allah strengthen us and guide us and protect us against the forces of evil, because the forces of evil want nothing more than to see us divided, warring and fighting amongst ourselves. No. Come together. Come together under La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Put aside tribalism. Tribalism is the worst disease that is infecting and affecting the Muslim Ummah today. It's worse. And it's the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ came to do away with. That's why when you see leaders who reach out to other people, who not only caring about their own people, but when you see leaders that wherever there is a Muslim cause, wherever there is a Muslim need, wherever there are Muslims crying out for help, they're offering help somehow, some way, that's a good leader. Whether it's an imam in the masjid or the president of a country. That's the sign of a good leader. Because we are all part of the human family. We all were born created from a common soul and come from a common mother and father. May Allah guide us and protect us and have mercy on us and forever send peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet and Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his family, his companions, and all the rightly guided servants until the day of judgment. And may Allah make us strong in this deen. Strong. Strong. Because the forces are fighting us. But we have Allah. And if we hold on to the rope of Allah, we will succeed and we will be victorious. And we don't need no bombs. We don't have to blow nothing up. Because the truth is the greatest weapon of mass construction. We don't need weapons of mass destruction. We have the truth. We have the greatest weapon of mass construction. Use it for the pleasure of Allah.